We're live. Hey, here. I'm with
Hello.
Dom. Hello, Dom. Seeking a thread, Dom. And
Hi.
there's other people in the waiting room. We'll bring it up if they're watching. We'll bring you up in a minute here. But uh, for those who don't know Billy Jones, this is a tribute to our friend Billy Jones. And the thing is, we know the Billy Jones from the vinyl community, from his record store, which he only had maybe 2 or 3 years, Billy's Record Salon in Brooklyn. That's the Billy Jones that Dom and I got to know in New York after WFMU. We had a wonderful party at his store, which we'll get into talking about. I met him too when Rob and I and Kimbo shared a Airbnb in Austin for a weekend. So and we hung out with them on some live streams, and what a great soul, what a great musical person. And I know we're all sad that he passed on. Surprised to a lot of us, didn't know how sick he was. But
Yeah.
we'll bring people up throughout the hour or two, depending on how this works out. Uh, if anyone has anything to say as we go on, reach out to me and we'll send you a link to come on board. So, Dom,
Yeah.
what you say?
Well, I mean, it was certainly a shock to me. Like, I think a lot of people knew he was, I guess, sick and had cancer, right? But from what was known, it seemed like it was maybe under control or he was sort of living with it. I mean, the record store was supposed to be moving. It seemed like, oh, things are going okay. So, yeah, it was really quite a bummer to hear that. I met him so basically like same as you did. I was in New York City all those years where he was running the, part of the nightlife there, but I never ran into him or anything like that. He opened up his club that I think he's known for just as I was leaving. So yeah, I missed all of that part of his life, and I believe that was sort of what he was spent most of his time doing. And then I would love to find out from people who were close to him, like, what was his thinking about starting a record store. I mean, he talked about it, but, I wonder what privately was sort of like his motivations for that. Yeah, I was just super inspired by him and the way that he ran his store and his sort of philosophy about how records could come and go in his life. And I just loved how he ran his store. It didn't even feel like a store.
It
Like
was
it
that,
just,
I realize, I mean, you're looking back on something once you know where he was, or we seem to know where he was, and some footage I had of him in the videos from the WFMU and his store at night. And a couple people are asking who was Billy. Um, Billy Jones was 45 years old when he passed. I don't know a lot about his history, and Dom and I don't about the things beyond the record store. If there's anyone, a group of people who know him from the clubs, he opened up a club with some partners, I believe, in Williamsburg. He was about to open something. I don't know if it opened yet in Manhattan. I talked to him about that a little bit last year in Austin. So we talked about that. But we know him from Billy's Record Salon in Brooklyn, and had the old unisex
yeah,
salon sign, and that was it. And you went in there, and he held the place, or he seemed to uh, curate the place like a hangout. He had a little couch there. He had a chess set on it. I know Alex and I, who hopefully will be here later, played chess that night. We had an after party there. It was just so wonderful. So we're going to go talking about this more as we know more. We don't know again the life he had in terms of the club scene, which is I think the biggest part of
yeah,
his scene in New York. And having watched a segment of the video that I shot of him at the time, and I don't have the wherewithal here to include it here right now, but he was talking about where he started the store partly with his collection, and then he kind of would buy things and sell things, obviously. And I started thinking, I wonder if he knew his sickness, thinking this is a way to kind of get his collection out. I don't know anybody about that, so I'm going to start pulling some people up little by little. We have Waxed is here now. Rob. Hello,
How
Rob.
you doing? What's up, Dom?
hey Rob,
We
good to
have
see you.
Frank, JBL 100 somewhere. Your camera's not there, but there we go. Hey,
There,
Frank, nice to see you.
hey Frank.
There was a couple people I saw popping up and disappearing. So
If you want me to say a few things, so
you can say
basically, how Billy I kind of virtually met him was I think he came into Rachel's stream. That's where I remember. I know he came on the Jazz Bums, and I know he would come into the chat on my streams. But I think it was Rachel. He came up.
He was first opening a store on Rachel's. I remember that.
He introduced himself, and he reached out to me. I think first through Instagram. I actually went back in because I don't delete anything through our texts on Instagram, and when we stayed in Austin together, we exchanged cell numbers. But I went back, and our first communication on Instagram was back in 2023, sometime in 2023. So, and we would just records we found and stuff like that. We went back and forth, and he was very into and very interested in how, because I'm a high level digger here in LA, very interested in stuff I would find and blah blah blah. And then
don't pat yourself on the back being such a high level digger, Robin.
So, and then we talked personal stuff. I went to college in Richmond, Virginia, and he said, "Well, that's where my parents live," and we became friendly in that way. And then hanging out with him that weekend, I learned so much from him. Like he was younger than me, but he just knew shit. And I'd learned how to, I learned from everyone who likes digging for records.
He had such a joy, right?
Yeah, he was very contagious and very enthusiastic. And through me communicating and knowing him both virtually and in person, maybe there were some signs of what was going on, but he had a very positive attitude. I had, I don't like to go into it, but I had cancer, but not like he had it. So I know when you get told you have cancer, I know how that feels. But I don't know what he went through. I don't.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I wasn't going to do this, but when I woke up today, aside from knowing this was coming up tonight, today happens to be World Martini Day.
Oh,
so when we had that night, Frank was there, Dom was there, had great people, Arnaldo.
I was pouring my fucking heart out, Mazzy, and
I want to do a toast to Billy.
For a guy,
Billy, it's martini time.
Billy brought in the mix for me to make martinis at his record store that night.
But Mazzy, you're the guy who goes, only have one drink.
You don't know martinis.
Can you just admit to everyone you're a drunk?
No, it's.
Is it really World Martini Day? Is that true?
It's probably sponsored by Bombay Sapphire or whatever. But it is. It's World. I get those notifications, don't you? Come on. And if you have to ask, you're an amateur. A martini is always gin unless you specify vodka. So to Billy, he brought in the mixes for me to make for you guys. Mostly, I don't know if you had any martinis that night, but to Billy, I do want a little toast, and one will continue. You can continue your story, Rob. Thank you.
Well, let me
talk about cancer.
I was at an emotional height, and you. Yeah. Billy, if you're out there, can you knock Mazzy's drink over?
Well, at a wake, this isn't a way like a wake. You're supposed to be joyous about the person you're talking about, and we as little as we knew him, we love him.
The dude was always positive. I would reach out to him. I went back and looked the last time we communicated. It was in December. I did text him in February, but I didn't hear back. But we did communicate in December. But that just shows you we go about our lives. And I'd like to, I always try and, when I privately communicate, how you doing, blah, blah, blah. But you just go about your life and don't realize you hadn't heard from someone in 3 or 4 months. So it's sad. It was sad, yeah. So.
It's funny, I hadn't looked through my chats with him until you mentioned that. I was like, I should pull those up, and I just remembered we had last been talking through this whole ridiculous trade, going back and forth, trying to. I had something he wanted, he had something vice versa, and we never quite finished that deal. But he kept saying, like, I'll keep showing you more video, I'll send you more things. Like, I got a lot of ideas. I'm like, all right, great, and he was just so enthusiastic. Like, he was like. you know, if you had his attention, he was going to give you his attention and really sort of like focus on you.
My favorite thing was when I don't know where this came from, but when he did his drop for his record store albums he got in, he would put them on a rocking chair.
The rocking chair, yeah.
Threw him on the rocking chair, and I would text him that record from the rocking chair. But
it was a little heartbreaking to see in the Instagram the empty rocking chair. I have to say that was a little.
I don't know where that came from, and you know, if his dad is watching, I just want him to know that he made a lot of friends in the last 2 years. He made a shitload of friends.
Yeah, I think we're all new friends of his. And,
What's up, Alex?
And he wasn't braggadocious. He didn't brag. If he was this big dude who had a lot of success in his life, that was not the dude I met. That's not how he talked.
No.
Right.
So
Frank?
Yeah,
Frank?
Kind of. When you knew he was a solid guy, and that gathering he had for us at after the record show, that was one of the best parties I've ever been to, flat out.
Yeah, it was totally fun.
Yeah.
Dom and I were talking about that. It's like a cool memory for us.
Yeah.
We're getting a little lag with you, Frank, just to kind of give you a warning. A little bit of the lag.
Okay. I might head out because my internet service is bad out here, so I'll go find a better spot.
Okay. Come back anytime.
Yeah, I was talking with Frank. Yeah, it was just like the idea of or that party that night was just like sort of perfect in so many ways. It was just like a beautiful meeting of everybody, and it was like a core memory, he was saying, which it really was for me. So, and you know, I got to trade with him, and you know, I got records I was looking for, all that good stuff too. But for me, as I know everyone has always said, it's really more like getting those meetings in person is like the real fun part of those things. And that was like everything combined. Great setting, you know, drinks, chess. Everyone's talking about records, showing people records. It was just a really great, perfect meeting of people.
It was fun. I mean, I love that I discovered that Alex likes McCartney too, and I have the photograph to prove it. And that was
I'm not buying that at all.
I think that was the thumbnail of that night. That was perfect.
Yeah.
Hi, Alex.
And I did buy a copy of that. I think Permanent had a copy of that, like I don't know, a few months after that, and I was like, I got to buy it just for that nostalgia.
Just proof of life or something. Yeah.
But yeah, no, I've been reading a little bit more about his life, and yeah, you guys were talking about him, and he was in the middle of, when I first started collecting records in the early 2000s, that was what I was collecting, was independent rock, and a lot of it was coming out of New York. And I think, it sounds like he certainly was kind of in the middle, and one of the guys that was really like pushing those acts. The thing about like the Strokes, the Yeahs, of course Arcade Fire is more, they're Canadian, but all of those bands coming out of New York. I think Animal Collective was also in the New York scene.
Yep.
Check.
And so that, pretty cool that he was, instrumental in bringing up a lot of those bands. And I'm sure he, had a lot of amazing stories, which hopefully, others will tell. And, I don't know if he ever got to, document any of that, verbally or, video or anything like that. But it'll be interesting to see what comes out of, some of the documentation of his club, which I think was Baby's All Right, I think is the name of it.
Yeah.
His enthusiasm was infectious, right? He wasn't bitter like Rob and I. I don't know about you guys, but he was ageless. I mean, I had no idea how old he was. I thought he could be anywhere from his late 30s to early 50s. I had no idea.
I just really enjoyed his take on records being sort of ephemeral, which I think a lot of us can relate to that. Maybe some have maybe feeling more like, I don't know, I want to hold on to everything. But I remember he took me into his back little room, because at the shop there he had like storage in the back, and he was, I forget what it was, but he was like, oh, I have this. I was like, oh, I'd be interested in that. He's like, well, I kind of want it, but you know what? whatever, just take it. Who cares? Like, he's like, I'll see another one, and this is meant to be sort of like a shifting of ideas and a shifting of records come in, records go. So he didn't really, as much as he sort of like wanted to hold on to things himself and discover things, he also wanted to pass it along to people, which I really enjoyed that about that store, which felt like, again, like more of like a library than anything else, with drinks.
With drinks. It's funny when he about a week or two before he passed, on Instagram he had the thing about moving, and my guess is maybe he didn't know. At that point, he probably knew maybe he wasn't moving. He was just moving out on that. And I put a comment in that referring to my chess team with Alex, just right, will it have chess? And he responded a week before he passed, yes, Mazzy, will always have chess. And I just, when you think of that after the fact, you think of it differently, that aside from how he was maybe writing it out and responding.
Hey guys, is this better?
Yes.
Yeah.
You look like you're in witness protection, but it's still good.
Yeah, no, I'm out of town, so I was outside and
That's okay.
in the woods, Saugatuck. So
Hello. Anybody else?
Yeah. No, I was going back through my chat. Rob got me thinking about the chats I had with him, which I hadn't looked at in 2 years. So
I recommend people, if you communicated with them, go back and look back on all that.
Well, he was so dialed into every video, which I didn't realize. Like he was referencing things like, "Oh, you saw that," and how do you even have time for this? Like, I can't even imagine.
Yeah, I communicated with him just once, and he did one of his his flip videos that he was doing.
The
in
rocking
that chair.
Yeah.
In the chair.
mm-hmm.
And I had planned on being at that event with you guys, but I ended up in the hospital.
Yeah.
That year, and he was holding a Steve Davis record for me, and I completely forgot after everything that happened, and I never got back in touch with him about it. But it was great to meet him last year, that's for sure. He is the like I said, he's the genuine article. That was the best takeaway for me from the fair last year, was all the people I got to meet that I'd only ever seen on the YouTubes or Instagram or whatever.
Isn't that the best thing? This whole vinyl community thing, and there's sometimes mini dramas of this faction. It's like high school benches. There's the jock bench and the stoner bench and the hipster, whatever they call it, and it's like that in the vinyl. But when you meet these people, and a bunch of us have been fortunate enough to meet viewers and other creators in various cities around the country, and especially after knowing them virtually, like it's kind of like a high school reunion where, God, I remember what you were like back then, and it is wonderful. That WFMU, I remember meeting Alex and Dom in that first record store in Brooklyn we all kind of met at. I forgot the name of it.
Human Head, right?
Human Head.
Yeah. Okay, there we go.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Human Head.
Dom found one of my Holy Grail records.
Yeah, that was weird. Yeah.
I couldn't believe it. That was.
And then walking out
crush.
on that rainy day when we were walking through those stores, and I have that video that you guys just standing in the loop in the rain and the.
That location when it was raining there was rough. Yeah.
Yeah, but like despite that bad weather and everything, it was still such a great time. I remember distinctly when we were at Billy's Salon, I had stepped out and walked across the street to grab something from the convenience store, and then I came back out and it was just kind of cold and raining, and I was looking in his shop and everybody was in there and the windows were kind of fogged up from like all of the activity, and I just thought, wow, what a special moment. Like so grateful to be there that day. I mean, what a time. Unbelievable. I went back and so after that day, when I went back home, I had already like depleted my funds and then some from the show. But Billy's Salon, I just kept pulling stuff out that was way too good to pass up. So in the end, like the next day, I looked at my bank receipt, and it was just like charge after charge after charge from Billy's, because I just kept going up and getting something.
I think we were taking your credit card and putting all our purchases on it at Billy's place.
That's a possibility, because there were a bunch of them.
Yeah, but what Mazzy was saying, like last year when I walked in with Dom and Brandon to the fair, I made a right turn and I decided I'm going to look at all the walls first, and so I went to the far right. The first human being I run into is Mike Notes and Tones. Like literally, he was the only guy in the whole aisle. You can't mistake him, and he had to run to go back to work for a minute. And then I made a left, and I saw the crazy wall of jazz records, and then I looked left, and there's Fremer standing there. So I talked to Fremer, and then I went down, made another left, and there's Billy. And so I got to meet Billy. So and after I met Billy, as soon as I got done talking to Billy, I run into Lance from Permanent Records in Terror. So it was just it felt like, it's all these people that I've known and online and all that, and then to run into them all in one location like that, and it's not that small of a record fair, was and we just kept running into more people. But Billy was awesome. But Tom, we were leaving to do something, and he was taking off.
Yeah,
because he didn't stick around that day on Saturday long.
I only talked to him briefly last year, but did check in with him and see how he was doing. I was hoping he might repeat what happened the year before at his shop, but there wasn't any indication that he was up for that. Obviously, there was, probably had something to do with his time and his health and all that. But anyway, yeah, he seemed like, sort of dialed in or engaged. Like he seemed like Billy.
Well, he bought records. Because when we ran into him on the street, he showed us a few records he bought. I can't remember what they were. It's killing me. I was trying to remember what they were.
Who's this person?
And
it's a well-known piece of shit in the that comes to people's things.
And anyway, I couldn't remember, Dom, what records he picked up at the fair. He showed us a few.
He did.
When he was running out.
I can't remember.
Yeah,
we were running out to get more money, weren't we? Is that what you said?
Because the one dude only took.
It's like going to a casino or a strip club.
Well, I brought cash last year. I'm going all cash this time. So.
And you had to get more. I'm pretty sure didn't you have to get more?
No. I think we were just going to get. We were just walking out. I stepped out with you.
Rob was right.
I was your bodyguard at the ATM.
Rob was right. I met him first through him coming up on Rachel's stream in the morning, and. I remember a couple times he'd be driving in his car and he'd pull over and he'd pan down. There'd be a bunch of records in the front seat on the floor, things he picked up. I don't know where he picked them up, but he was just so eager, and it was just a fun time.
Yeah, I met him on the Jazz Bum stream.
Yeah,
sure, with Rob on there. And
I hope we get some Jazz
Mike
Bums up here.
Chris
No offense, Rob.
Yeah. Well, Rob's a staple on the Bums. So.
Yeah,
Yeah, but I'm offended, Mazzy, by your alcoholism.
Okay, does anyone here have any records that are connected, Dom?
Yes.
Billy?
So one of the last contacts I had with Billy was last November. So I was flipping through Instagram, and I see that Urgot Records, which is a store in the Lower East Side, I think. Amazing records. I mean, for the stuff that I collect, everything they post on a daily basis is either I have, or I wish I had, or I wish I knew about it, or whatever. So in November they post this record just sort of casually among they always post about a dozen records or so. It's an electronic record from this Iranian guy from the 80s. It's on the Folkways label, so it's got the that tip on whatever. Probably one of the rarest records on Folkways, and considering they have, I don't know, hundreds, maybe a couple thousand different releases, that's something to say. It's something I've been looking for I don't know, close to a decade or so. And yeah,
I'm gonna head out. I just wanted to stop in and say hi and condolences.
Okay, Frank.
Bill. He's a great guy.
Frank.
Thank you for coming. Nice talking.
Cheers,
to
Frank.
you.
All right, cheers. I'll talk to you later.
See you, Frank. Good to see you. So the moment I see this, I'm like, there's only two human beings that I know well enough that I would ever, ask for a favor like this, and that I would trust, because this is obviously not a particularly cheap record. So those two people being Billy and Mike Notes and Tones, who works and lives in New York City, and I think I might have tried Mike Notes and Tones first, but I couldn't get a hold of him. So I said, hey, Billy, if there's any way, in the next few days or whatever, swing by Urgot Records, which is about 3.5 miles from his shop. I'd be in debt for you, and yeah, that same day, I guess he told me later he took a cab across the Williamsburg Bridge. Went to the store, paid cash. I guess the guy at Urgot Records kind of a dick. I've dealt with him online a few times. I don't know if you guys know him. I think
yeah.
And I don't know if it's the same guy or whatever, but yeah, he told me, he's like, yeah, he didn't want to talk about the record. He didn't want to chit-chat. I just gave him the cash and got out of there. And so, yeah, he just sent me a picture of, him holding the record. And I was like, wow, that's amazing. I give him of course, send him the money right away. And, but yeah, that's the kind of guy that he was. I mean,
he's like the record concierge.
And you were looking for like 10 years, you said, right?
Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
something like that. I mean, this is the kind of thing that hasn't been sold on Discogs in like 7 years or something like that.
We were chatting that day. I was just blown away because you told us about this, and all of a sudden there's a picture of Billy's hand holding it on the street or something. I was just like,
yeah.
This guy's amazing. So I didn't realize he took the train. Like, yeah, I thought maybe he was in the area or something. So that's
he told me he's gonna drive over there, but then he just ended up taking a cab. And again, this is like mid to late November.
This is New York too. Like,
yeah. So this is about 8 months ago. So obviously, he was well aware of his diagnosis and everything like that. So just really special one.
Alex, you tell him the Ukraine story.
Well, yeah. Well, I'll leave that for some other time. But yeah,
Okay.
That was same shop, but
that's a great.
Yeah,
Ukraine got attacked by the big bully Russia. That's the story. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, no, that was Mike Notes and Tones. He got a record for me at Urgot.
Nice. We got Tim University Vinyl and Mike Jazz Bums. I want to go to Mike first because when I've known Mike from the Jazz Bums for a little while at the time I met him in person, and I don't know if he remembers. I met him literally standing in front of Billy's booth at the WFMU auction, and I harassed him. And I looked at Billy, and I think I had actually in that video, my camera was on, and Billy did the whole, over theatrical reaction, that type of thing, which is great. And that's when he was about. And then I turned to Mike. I don't know if it was right before or right after it, so I'm misremembering this. And Mike was so blasé, didn't give a crap. He wasn't as excited as Billy, but it was a pleasure. So, Mike, welcome, and talk about Billy.
Thank you for hosting this, Mazzy.
Well, it's Dom and I. It's a mutual thing. And everyone else.
Yes. So I'll tell a Billy story. So we were doing the Jazz Bums, and maybe we were doing it a year. I don't even know. But I went to New Jersey to Second Saturday, which is in New Jersey, and I'm digging through records, and somebody comes up to me and says, "Hey, are you Mike from the Jazz Bums?" And I turn, and it's this tall, gangly, disheveled person that I did not know, and I was like, yeah, okay. I started continuing to dig, and he was talking with me a little bit, and he's like, oh yeah, I really like the show, and that was pretty much it. I think I actually negotiated at the table this Dexter Gordon. It's a Liberty Getting Around, and it was very cool. We were talking, and then that was it. That was the first time I ever got like recognized from the live stream, so I thought that was pretty cool. And then all of a sudden, I see Billy's record salon like showing up on Rachel's stream and saying, like, hey, Mike, I'm the guy that you met at Second Saturday. And he jumps up on. So I'm like, oh, my God, this is the guy. So he starts hanging around. And then we learn that he's going to open a record shop. And he starts joining the Friday Night live stream. And those are like some of the best moments of the live stream is when he was on talking about records, showing his store off when he was first opening it. I mean, those were like amazing moments.
He was
And
walking around the store. I remember those, showing
yeah,
the walls, showing the just. It was like that great environmental thing, like it was when we hung out there that night.
so we fell in love with him, and we loved him. And then we started hanging out. We went to the FMU thing, and he was just a great guy. And then I think I was tuning in earlier, and Rob, you were saying like correspondence for you, kind of just and just stopped chatting. I did notice he wasn't like hanging around the channel, and then we got the news, but I was really impacted by him, and I remember the last time I spoke with him at WFMU, and I was digging like a lunatic. Like, I wish I spent more time with him there. I regret that, and I am just trying to be kinder. I feel like, he was a really nice guy, and I'm sorry, I'm emotional, but
It's okay.
We're
here to celebrate his life, but and he touched.
There was just these few moments, but it really impacted me. And
it's really bizarre. I mean, I know when you know someone, it's different than quote celebrities. And in the last 3 weeks, we had two major, Brian Wilson and Sly Stone die, and I love their music. I grew up with their music of both things. But I mean, I remember when Bowie died, it affected me a lot. Obviously, John Lennon, things like that. But Billy, even though I didn't know him that much, there's something about his charisma, his contact, his soul. Again, I don't know what it is, but it's almost like, I'm not religious at all, but it's almost like he's this angel that came through us to show records. I know that sounds over the top, but it's not far from the truth. I think we're all feeling it a little bit, right?
Well, I think it speaks to, like, you don't need to know someone that long to sort of like dial into their sincerity and sort of feel like they're, connect with you. If you connect with someone for one evening, that can be just as impactful as meeting, and knowing someone for a long time. And obviously this guy was a interesting and special guy because we're all talking about him in this very effusive way, and we only had so much contact with him. I think there was just a sincerity about him that was very, as it's been said in the chat, infectious, contagious. And it's all based around this love we have for records and music. So it's like it's all of that wrapped up into one. And he was just super generous too, and just fun. So yeah, it makes sense that everyone would feel like is sort of affected by him. Yeah. I mean, I was really blown away, Mazzy. You forwarded me a note from his dad.
I don't know if you're watching now, but Ned Jones is Billy's father. Heard that we were doing something, and in one way, I apologize because we don't know the whole history or the connection to the people that probably knew him a lot longer than we do, his closest friends. We're close on a different level from this vinyl community. So if you're here, I did send Ned a link. I hope he's watching. Comment if you feel like commenting. If you want to come up, you can. You don't have to. I understand that. If anyone else wants to come up, please inbox me if you know me. If you don't know me through either Instagram or text, then you probably don't deserve to come up here unless you know someone here, because we're not going to post a link here for just any wanker to come up here. It's just because we get a lot of wankers, as I say. So,
but no, I was blown away that his dad had written to you, Mazzy, and said, asking about my channel and the fact that they had watched my channel while he was sick in the hospital, which, like, I'm sure he watched other people too, but his dad specifically was saying that something they had watched that I made was like really distracting and comforting, which was
it was beautiful.
Yeah, so before I forget, so his channel, his YouTube channel, which I don't think he ever really talked about, but I think it's just called Billy's Record Salon, just like his Instagram handle. In there, he still has like 3 playlists, and one of them is called like Best Stuff. So a lot of it is just music that he sort of bookmarked over the years, but there are a handful of VC videos in there. So it's just kind of interesting to see what he was really passionate about. There's videos from actually there's a video from you, Dave, on there, from you digging with Bill and at Snug Harbor. There's a Bob Bradley video on there. There's something from Kieran Neil Groove up in Montreal. There's of course some Noble Records stuff. So take a look at that. It's pretty cool.
Tim, welcome, University of Vinyl.
Hey guys, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yep.
Um, I never met him personally, but I was in touch, usually on Instagram, and my wife and I had a trip planned to New York last September. And I just, in the back of my mind is like, this guy was just so alluring. And I don't know, just a really cool guy. I of course saw him first on the Rachel streams when he was opening up the store, and so effusive, so much energy. But a quick story. So I'm in touch with him. I'm like, Billy, I'm going to go to one record shop. I'm there for family stuff. I've got to go to Connecticut and see my niece play field hockey. You're the store I want to go to. And I also was going to go to the Brooklyn Flea. There was like a record show at the Brooklyn Flea the same day. And it was on a Saturday. And he's like, here's my cell, text me, an hour before you're there. And of course I did. And we went to the shop, and my wife and I, we decided to go out and have some lunch. And Jake in the shop's like, oh, go here or go there. If the line is too long, this place is great. Long story. And we had traded like messages. I loved those Outtakes Lansing speakers he had in the shop, and he loved those things. And he was like secretly, I think, kind of a gear nut too. But anyway, we came back from lunch, and Jake's like, hey, Billy had a procedure earlier in the week. He didn't really want to tell you. And have you heard? I said, yeah, I know he's going through some stuff. And then Jake's like, hey, listen, he told me anything you want in the store, I think it was 30% off. It doesn't matter, but just a sweetheart. And I I picked up a Richard Davis record that I'm not familiar with Richard Davis, but he had certain records in those bins that had personal sticky notes from him. Like, this is a great record. Stop what you're doing right now and buy this. What are you thinking? If you haven't heard this record before, it's one of the best sounding jazz records in this shop. So I picked that up in an Iggy Pop record, and a very welcoming place, even though I was disappointed he wasn't there. Jake let my wife use the bathroom. I took a look
in a record store?
I took a look in the back room. He had the cooler with LaCroix and water and beer. We spent, and my wife is not a super Digger fan, but we hung out there for a good 45 minutes. I ended up talking with Jake for a long time, and those videos are heartbreaking, where he's had to like part out, all the shelves are had to go, and
yeah.
If that chair was available, I would have bought that. That's all I have to say. I was shocked. I saw that Mazzy had posted that, what was it, 2 weeks ago, and I'm sad I never met him personally, but had a lot of interaction with him.
Yeah. Thank you. Anyone else have any records here? I have a couple records I want to show. I'll go on, and if anyone else comes up again. One of these records he had in the store, kind of a rare record, and it was Dom that forced it upon me. And I'd seen it, but I remember exactly. I was sitting pivoted to the left, probably after my major chess victory or right before, I don't know which. And it was Glenn Branca,
Sweet.
Lower East Side, the whole, that whole period of, I guess, in the time of Lounge Lizards and all that stuff that was going down at that point. And I love this record. And I remember at the time saying, oh, I know that cover artist. That's Robert Longo. Robert Longo did those pencil drawings, like full size, of people floating, falling, which was controversial later because Mad Men used it at the beginning of their thing. And also after 9/11 with people falling out of the buildings, unfortunately. But incredible record. And so I bought this at the shop that evening. It was like a Tupperware party there. We were buying stuff, hanging out, drinking. Well, in a way it was, right? We were supporting it. And Billy at one point pulls up. This was actually a wall record, if you can believe it. it's not a wall record, but he goes, Mazzy, I know you like sort of, what did he say? I know you like sort of yee pop and mediocre music. I think he used that term, which is for, safe music. But I ended up buying this Claudine Longet record, which is fucking fantastic. And of course, she was married in the 60s to Andy Williams. She was on trial for murder of her boyfriend, accidentally shot the rifle of her ski bum boyfriend, Spider, whatever his name is. This record has all these great covers of like God Only Knows by Brian Wilson and Paul McCartney's Every Night. Hey, That's No Way to Say Goodbye by Leonard Cohen, Chris Christopherson, Neil Young's Birds, Mickey Newbury, and Sleep Song by Graham Nash. Let's Spend the Night Together. It's a really beautiful kind of French pop record. And she's got that, French pop kind of sexy voice like the Yee Girls. And Billy handed me this and said, you got to buy it. And I did. And that's all I bought, just those 2 records. Maybe I bought something else. But I just love that he kind of tried to learn his audience and know the people. Once he got to know you, and say, hey, check this out.
Oh, yeah. When I saw him at WFMU this last time, he was like, we don't have any hard bop stuff here, Mike. I was like, okay. Because he knew, I was really into it. I mean, I still am. But I did pick this up from his shop the first WFMU we hung out, when we went to his shop and basically had a party. It's a Hemi at Blewett record. This is on Black Saint, and it's the clarinet family. So like Black Saint did like saxophone quartet, the clarinet. There was a bunch of clarinet stuff, but this Hemi at Blewett one, I was looking for some Hemi at Blewett to add to my collection. Found it there. It's a beautiful record. I listened to it recently when I heard he passed. I pulled out all my records I got from him, and it's wonderful. And anyway, I bought a number of records from him over the years, and they all have like special meaning now. And I feel like he gave me for free a Gato Barbieri on ESP disc, the one with the white cover.
Yeah.
And I had it in my pile, and I was like, no, let me put this to the side. He's like, no, just take it. It was like mint condition. And anyway, he was just nice. So I've been listening to all those records, and they're all wonderful. So, and somebody mentioned this. It was his collection. And he was just okay kind of giving us great deals on records. I mean, that's really what it felt like sometimes. Like I bought a Sam Records from him, and I could tell like he like hesitated. He's like, I don't want to let go of this, and then he was totally fine doing it. So I need to be more like that. I need to be more kind like Billy. So I've been actively trying to do that, and so I'm gonna miss him. But
having records from someone's collection like this, and 5 years ago now, when my friend Coleman passed, and I, Coffee Dave and I required his collection. We put these pictures, ironically, Coleman died of the same situation, the same thing. Billy died of, I don't know how long it went on for Billy, but Coleman was in a hospice situation for the last 4 months at his house. And, Dave and I curated his collection, and we put a picture and a little bio thing in every record we sold. Some I gave away, a combination of things, some we kept. But it's like that when, it not that Billy should have put something in, but a lot of us, I mean, obviously I'm never going to get rid of these records. I know they're Billy records, and I know that. No one else will ever know that. But there's something about having that passed along one way or another. I think it's pretty wonderful. So.
Hey guys, I'm going to take off. I'm in the middle of making dinner, so I wanted to jump up and say hi. And the limited interactions I had were fantastic, and God bless his family and friends. So, yep.
Thank you, Tim.
Cheers.
Thanks, Tim.
Take care, everybody.
I'm going to get out of here as well. Thanks for having this, Mazzy. This was really a great thing to have done for a friend. So thanks, everybody. I'll talk with you all later.
Thanks, Mike.
Peace.
Mike.
Bye, Mike.
I'd be curious.
Rob, do you have any records, Rob?
Well, if anyone knows me, my records are horribly organized.
Can you talk about some, even if you can't?
But I can tell you, we made a deal. I had a very rare sealed record that was worth a lot of money, and he exchanged with me like an assortment of killer stuff. There was a James Tyler, the Outlaws one. He gave me the Prince Lachey and Sonny Simmons Freebirds record. He gave me. He was very generous. I remember when he came to we all stayed at the same place in Austin. He left his glasses there, so I remember taking them back with me and mailing them back to him. That was one memory I have. But yeah. I mean,
what else happened in Austin? I mean, I know that I saw some of your thoughts about that at the time.
Billy he miscalculated flights or something. So he came in late on Thursday.
My room was right next to the front door, and he was sleeping in the kind of the main area, and I'm the one that had opened the door because he shows up like at 2 a.m. or something.
Because his flight was delayed.
Yeah.
But then he forgot that he booked his flight on Saturday, and he couldn't change it, so he had to leave early. But I remember that he found at least 4 records he had been looking for, I think, at the Austin show. Mm-hmm. And just listening to him talk and say, you got to get this record and that one, and that's what the deal with this one. And he was just a very admirable digger for records, you know?
Did Dom and Dave, did Billy have a booth at the recent WMFU?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. He had a lot of jazz in his bins. I didn't buy a record from him, but he was sharing a table with a young guy, and that was really cool. And I did buy a record from that.
He is a young guy.
When I was talking to Billy, I bought a record from the kid he was sharing a table with. And but Billy had good stuff. Don't get me wrong. It's just a lot of those jazz records he had were Blue Notes and things like that, Impulse stuff I already had.
To be fair, Mazzy, everybody's a young guy to you.
He did put this record in my hands this past FMU, and I bought a couple others. But this one, he said,
"Oh, I know I should do this, but I'm gonna." Okay, I haven't been doing this, but whatever. I want to see the cover for that.
Yeah, he's like, I think you're gonna like this. This was a little weird for me, but it's perfect for you. I was like, okay, and I didn't know what this was. Our friend of ours, Tom Minko, knew this one. He told me this was great. That's a Connecticut private press, it's a jazz funk record, and they're called it's on St. John's Eve, but that's just the title. The name of this band, I always forget it, is it's like hidden here. Oh, Columbus Circle.
Yeah, you got that on Saturday, right?
I think so.
Friday. No, Friday.
Yeah, Friday was the first day. It was Friday. Yeah. Totally never seen this before, and he sort of forced this on me. But he had this. I was looking for this Don Cherry and Latif Khan. So this was one that he specifically had that I grabbed from him. And there's something else that I actually ended up selling, but this was one I was certainly happy to find. So yeah, he was there, and his stuff that he had this past year was good. It was great, actually. So yeah, like I said, he seemed like he was dialed in, at least from what I could tell. But
yeah, like I said, you would never know he was dealing with what he was dealing with the way he lived his life. He was just so outgoing, energetic.
Yeah, I wish there was someone here. I wish there was someone here from this club scene, because I'm curious, and maybe we don't need a Q&A about that. But I remember, maybe it was Austin. He actually showed me. I don't know if it was a few of us or me, like a schematic or a map or something of the new club he was working on in Manhattan. He was telling me about it. I know New York pretty well, but now I totally forget where it was. I'm thinking, is it downtown? If anyone knows, put it in the comments.
They talked about it in the article. They talked about it.
Yeah, it's interesting about, there was anybody who really wants to seek it out, both in Rolling Stone and in Pitchfork, at least those two venues, magazines or whatever you call them. There were obituaries on him, and not one of them mentioned his record store, which was kind of interesting because that's where we're here. That's why we are here.
Yeah.
That's how we met him. And they didn't mention one thing about his record store.
They didn't? I thought one of the articles did.
But did it?
Maybe,
Well, I missed it maybe.
Maybe Pitchfork?
It was mostly about his club time.
Yeah, it was about, yeah.
Someone's asking about what's going on with what's left of the records. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if that's been talked about.
I thought when they were closing, like everything was 50% off or something.
Yeah, but they moved things out. We don't know. I don't know.
But Felipe said that they were going to donate any money to cancer research.
Yeah.
Was my understanding.
Yeah,
but I don't know for sure.
Did anybody note? Again, I don't know if Ned is here, Billy's father, but does Billy have siblings? Did anybody know? No, we don't know.
No, I'm not sure. He never mentioned anything.
Let me see if I can post. I know there was like an official obituary. Let's see. If I can post it, I will.
Okay.
I have it here on my phone.
Now, okay, I know he was, especially during the record store times, and we would talk on Rachel's stream and Rob and some of us. He would really show all his jazz stuff, but he wasn't just into jazz stuff. He was into a lot of other stuff. I didn't even know his musical taste beyond the jazz stuff. Anybody?
I think he was just open-minded in general. That was the thing I got from him. He was quick to tell you about something interesting, but also quick to learn about something else. He liked a lot of Latin. He talked a lot about Latin records too. I
made a big trade. In fact, I think. Yeah, one of the first interactions I had when he was on a stream, and he showed a record. He showed like the wall of records, and there was one that I was really interested in, which is this one here, "Brother to Brother."
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Which is another one like that's super super rare. Possibly maybe the rarest record that I own, to be honest. So I was really surprised. And
you got that one from Billy?
Yeah. So we corresponded on Instagram. That was kind of the first time I was like. And he said, "Yeah, I like your channel and things like that." And we ended up trading like straight up that record, Ernest Hood, Dom, that I know you like quite a bit. It's like a private press sort of. I don't know. It's like a zither sort of new agey experimental thing.
Neighborhoods.
So yeah, I don't think it was something that he knew about, but he checked it out and he's like, "Yeah, I totally dig that."
That's McPhee, isn't it?
On this one, yeah. He's on it, but mostly it's just like Rhodes.
Yeah.
And like spoken word. It's a really beautiful record. So I did play this.
Yeah.
A few times recently.
I've only ever seen one copy. The Mind Cure guy had one once in the bookstore in Pittsburgh. I think he wanted $400 for it. But that's the only time I've ever seen it. Till I didn't know you even. I think I knew you had that, but I can't remember.
He's a lover of music. He's a facilitator, a producer, a concierge. He's one of those kind of people, and I know a handful of people like that bring different people together. I mean, all of us are from different backgrounds, different musical tastes. We overlap a little bit here and there, and but this thing, the vinyl community, people like Billy, even though he didn't do his own YouTube channel as a host, again through his store and obviously through his music bar club scene, he brings people together, and that's a talent that's not so easy. It seems easy, but certain people have a natural ability to do that, I think. So I love
running a music venue that's a major undertaking, and he was running more than one. And,
right. I think he had partners.
I know the people here in Charlotte that do. That's a hell of a task to take on.
Oh God, yeah. And I don't know if you deal with the the New York scene. I don't know if you deal with the whatever the permitting mafia is in a place like New York or Brooklyn or Williamsburg or whatever. But if like I've known people who own clubs in San Francisco and Los Angeles, and there's a certain, I hate to say, element. Sometimes you have to deal with union things which are great, but there's all the bureaucracy and the people that want a piece of things, and it's not an easy business. I mean, to deal with on any level, But all the power to them.
Hey, Mez, I just put the obituary in the private chat if you want to post it on the.
I'm learning how to help me, Rob. Here,
I'll do it. I'll do it.
Can you do
Maz's brain might explode.
No, I haven't done these. Oh, here's private chat. Okay. But can you see the private chat? Do you know how do we post it? Can we post it?
I'll do it. I'll put it in the chat.
Do you know how to do it? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is, me. I don't like hosting live streams. I do it very.
Yeah, you're horrible at it.
I'm totally horrible at it. You're the pro. That's fine. I don't want to be part of it usually.
No, it's because you're old and decrepit. But
yes, exactly.
We're here for you.
Well, Rob had a sale. He was on. Geez, you were on for like 3 hours today, weren't you?
Like 3.5. But
yeah.
My plan was to come up and share my feelings, and I don't say many people are good guys. He was a good guy.
Well, I'm looking at it looks like the funeral service is Monday, it looks like, looking at this.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Where's he being laid to rest?
Richmond, Virginia.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah,
so at home.
That's where his parents are. I went to that's we would talk because I went to college in Richmond, so I know the area very well. So.
Yeah, VCU, right?
Yeah.
But you can post it here so as to see. I guess it doesn't matter really. So.
It's in the chat, the YouTube chat.
Okay. Now that we're running out of steam here, let's get Chance.
The one thing I would like, it looks like on the obituary site, you can click on. It says sympathy gifts or sign the guest book. It'd be nice if people sign the guest book.
Yeah, Wax put it in the comments here, and so
Very
did
cool.
So we're represented here. Chance,
there's another guy I ran into at the fair, right there.
That's right.
Chance.
That's right.
Okay,
And-
we're not talking about.
I know we're not talking about sports. Can we get Dom a hat? I don't want Dom to feel out of place.
I was wearing a hat earlier. I was actually wearing one earlier, so maybe I will.
I remember
It's World Martini Day. It's World Martini Day.
Hey, I got I got cocktail. Tom's sitting over. He's inspired by what you did earlier, Mazzy, right there.
I remember talking to Billy. He went to Salisbury University, which I was talking to my live stream is near Ocean City, Maryland. And Chance, Salisbury University used to be called Salisbury State. It's where Frank Perdue makes all the horrible chickens.
Salisbury State?
They are one of the most winningest sports program in NCAA history, Salisbury State. Yeah. Salisbury University.
It really doesn't seem the sports type to me. I could be wrong. I don't know.
Well, it's not a big school. When he went there, you had to be touched by some of their sports.
He might have liked those French fries out there you were talking about, Rob.
Yeah.
With the vinegar.
Mm-hmm. So, Chance.
Yes, sir. Well, I met Billy twice. Couldn't have been a nicer guy. The first time I met him was at the old Austin thing. I had to dig this up. So this is the record that him and I talked about. I got this on the Early Bird Friday. And this is logged. This is Leroy Burgess's, one of his many projects.
I don't want to know about that record, Chance.
Here, zoom in on those the chesticles for Rob. That's right there. But no, this is Salsa Soul or Soul Soul. And,
send all your greasy muscle lifting records to Chance.
I have actually one of the bins over here is just greased up dudes. So anytime you want to borrow it, Rob, let me know. But anyway. I got that from Goner Records had a table, and at the end of the day, like when we met up back at the Airbnb you guys had, just kind of flipping through records, and Billy's like, "Oh, that's a real good one." So, game recognizes game, and it was really cool to interact with him. And then last year, like Dave was saying, he was at WFMU. It's kind of one of the reasons I went to WFMU. I was hoping we could recreate what you guys did the year before, but for whatever reason, we splintered like a cheap 2x4, and so we didn't really get the meetup. And I think that's partly because Billy was like one of the unifying forces for your guys' meetup. So, but I got to see him, and literally it was only the second time I met him. Greeted me with a hug, and I'm not a big hugger, but that's what I mean. His energy was like contagious. He was just such a nice guy, such a good human, and it's a real shame. I knew he had health things, like he wasn't real, forthcoming with it. I had kind of heard some stuff secondhand, but big loss. I mean, he's just a great guy.
I think the 2023 reason that worked in terms of the after party too, aside from his health, was because the venue was close, was in Brooklyn or that in Queens or whatever, wasn't in Manhattan. Once you're in Manhattan, you either don't want to leave Manhattan. You know how it is.
Yeah.
It's a hassle, even though it's a subway ride. But you kind of want, like, what I was going to go. I wanted to stay in Manhattan this time because of the thing there. But I know it's expensive, hard to get places these days. So I think that having it in Brooklyn, we were all kind of hanging out there. Even after, I remember after the night we had the party there, we all went out to dinner, and there was like,
Yeah, that was excellent.
12 of us, and we tried to go to one place. And of course, in New York, on a Saturday night, everything's busy. So we try to find a table for 10. How hard is that? At 11 o'clock or 11:30 at night.
Good luck.
We did find a place, which we had a great time, and it was kind of the tail end of them closing, but we had a great time there.
Hey,
Yes.
it's been a long day for me, and I have a bunch of stuff I need to do. But I'm very happy, Mazzy, you did this, and I appreciate you giving everyone an opportunity to share how they felt about Billy. And if Billy's family is watching, my sympathy and thoughts and prayers and feelings are sent to you. That's all. Thank you, guys.
Well said.
Thank you,
Sure,
Mr. West.
Bye.
See you now. Well, I'll show some other records that I bought from him at the 2023. This was one that we talked a lot about because it was one I was looking for, and the condition wasn't what it seemed it should be for the price. So we did haggle a little bit, but he ultimately sort of acquiesced and was like, yeah, it does look a little rough. So he was, not trying to pass anything off on me. But I do. This is probably the favorite thing, my most favorite record that I got from him. I didn't find anything from him like the story that Alex told about that the Folkways Dull Shot record. Nothing like as Hand of God type thing. But this is my favorite thing that I found at his store that night at that party. We'll say Doug Hammond and Karen Joseph. A really nice duo record. Private Press from.
And you've been on a Doug Hammond kick lately, have you not?
Yeah, this is sort of what started me down that road.
Yeah.
I knew of him. I knew he had the really rare record on Tribe Records, which I didn't think I'd ever find. But some of these late '70s and early '80s Doug Hammond records you can scoop. So it's nice. It's all percussion, piano, and voice and flute. And this one I think about with Billy for sure because I remember us talking about this one for quite a bit. And I got a classic from him that I'd always meaning to get. One of the most famous reggae records produced by Lee Scratch Perry.
Hey.
So this is one of those that you're like, oh yeah, I'll get that at some point. I don't want to pay for it online. And he had it just sitting in his bins. His bins were great. I mean, I don't know if you remember Mazzy, but his wall was excellent. But looking through all those bins and underneath, he just had all kinds of records everywhere. And nothing seemingly organized, which sometimes is kind of nice to go through when... especially because it wasn't too big, so you can go through everything. It just felt like you were really digging, like actually digging, like who knows what you're gonna find, and then the thrill of just passing things to people and the little discussions that go on.
The chair videos always blew my mind, Dom.
Oh, the chair video
every time.
Yeah,
and the old Flacati shag carpet.
Yeah.
I have one here, so I appreciate that. And it's not the best thing to have in a record store if you want cleansing, a clean area. Yeah. Those things like
with drinks flying around,
cat pisses on it, or someone drops something or spills something. It's not.
Well, Mazzy, for me, that 2 years ago when I was in the hospital, I had already paid Dom for the place and a plane ride and all that stuff. And so I, completely missed out. My whole thing was going to Billy's was my number one thing to do. The fare was pretty much secondary. So I was really I was stoked when I saw all you guys together, but then I was bummed because I wanted to get out in that chess game. And,
that chess game was legendary.
I remember
I know.
we were sitting. There was a little outdoor area, there was the main venue. And not that the whole thing wasn't a venue, but there was an outdoor area between two of the extensions. I remember being outside with I don't know who was I with then, Arnaldo maybe and someone else, but Ken McAuliffe was there.
Oh yeah,
And
Ken. Yeah,
I think
you put him on video with me. Remember?
we did a audio thing where we called you, and wasn't he talking to you for some reason? I think he was.
Because he'd
Yeah,
been through some of the same things, I guess, health wise that I had been through.
right.
And he's originally from Charlotte, from here.
I did
Ken
not know
McAuliffe.
that. I did not know that.
Yeah, he was a drummer.
I know that. Yes.
Yeah, but he was in town maybe a year ago or so. He had I think his mom might have passed or something happened, and he was cleaning out a storage thing of it, and he found a box with Blue Notes in it in storage here, and he went to Lunchbox Records here in Charlotte.
Right.
Ken did, and he thought it was a great shop, and he's pretty critical when it comes to pretty much anything. But he was impressed with it. I was like, oh, okay. But I was like, damn, dude, you should have got in touch with me.
There's a video on his channel visiting Billy's record salon too.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people have done that because it's not a high profile store, but it's just a great store when an owner, someone has a passion. And there's been a thing over the last, forever actually, of people opening up stores, starting with their own collections.
Yeah, and Ken, I know it seems like he took it pretty hard with the news because he put up a couple of posts about Billy on his Facebook and whatnot. So
I did inbox him about this, but I didn't get a response. I know he might be busy, and he
might. Well, he goes to all the big gear things that Fremer goes to. All those like the big one that was in Germany or whatever. He's always on the booth for that.
Yeah. Well, today's the day he would be working at the Jazz Center on Saturday.
Yeah, on Saturdays.
It's nighttime. It's 9 o'clock in New York. It's only 6 o'clock here on the West Coast. So you guys are in the future there.
But it's funny, like I was saying earlier with the fair last year. I ran into Chance too. That
You're
Friday.
welcome. You're welcome. Yes.
But I thought the best part of that was you're like, Dave, look what I got. That Nirvana record.
Yeah, Bleach record. Yeah.
That you passed on
at Noble. Yes.
And got a better deal at the fair.
But see, I think who was it? I think Eddie Perez said it earlier. Like one of the best things about this whole thing, you got the chirping and there's personality conflicts here and there. But when you meet up and hang out and just geek out on records, there's not many things better in this kind of space, in this hobby. Just finding like-minded people and generally good people, right? Like there's a couple of jabronis out there, whatever. But meeting up and just sharing, like it's the best part, and that's what Billy was about too. That's why I made the comment. He's the best. He was one of the best of us. It's true because like if you can find me somebody that says something negative about Billy, I'm gonna call him a liar because like nobody. Yeah. Billy was just all positivity, all about doing this. And again, like Mazzy said, like he had this whole another life of like club promoter and all that stuff. I just knew him as a record guy, so. I had heard he had some other kind of business dealings, but it wasn't until he passed, unfortunately, that I saw the Pitchfork, the Rolling Stone, and learned like there's this whole nother side of him. I only knew him as a record guy, a record geek like us.
How did he have time for the records? That's what I'm wondering. And how did he keep finding all the kick-ass records?
Well,
how was he able to do it with the club things?
I would love to hear some stories from, I guess Jake was work there, or people that were sort of working with him, just to see like what we didn't know about him and how he was acquiring, what his day-to-day was like, just dealing with the disease he was dealing with too. Like that's insane.
I suspect when someone has a club and they usually, and no way it was his own. I'm sure he had partners of some sort with those clubs, those music venues, and those beverage venues and stuff. Once you have that going, you have people that kind of run it. You oversee it, sure, but you don't necessarily have to be there all the time. And of course, the record store stuff is day. Clubs are usually night. And in terms of New York City or even Williamsburg, clubs start going at 10 or 11 o'clock at night. I don't know about these specific clubs he has because I was never invited to his club. He didn't invite me when I was there, so I didn't get a chance to go to
that age restriction, Mazzy. We need to tell you.
They wouldn't let me
aged out. Yeah.
If it's one of those typical friggin' New York places with the black velvet, red velvet rope VIP.
Rope, yeah.
I go back to the '80s trying to get into places like, if you know New York, Arena and past Studio 54. I wasn't in that whole world, but there were some of those clubs that would last a certain time. Of course, the pop-ups, what I liked about Manhattan in the 80s when I first started going there, late 70s, but in the 80s, there'd all these like event places that would pop up for weeks or months and then disappear. They were kind of like on the edge of legal, but they would be cool spaces. You know, they either get shut down by the liquor board or shut down by the fire marshals or whatever it was. But they're cool as ass to go to and to see these like, improvisational, like weird. It's kind of would be the equivalent of the 80s version of going back to the 60s with Warhol and the Factory and Velvet Underground and all the art scene there.
No.
You know, where that would have been a cool thing too.
Max's Kansas City.
Well, that was a club,
sure.
you know, that was a real music venue. But these loft space, I went to so many parties and events in the 80s, and I would have loved that. And Billy thing was a whole different thing, but I would love to know, DJ, as Scott says here, the invite-only clubs.
Have you seen the Max's documentary, Mazzy? It's all those people in it, man. It's great.
I did not see the Max's documentary.
Oh, it's highly recommended. I forget the name
but that
of it.
whole art scene, I mean, that goes back, you know, as Dom said, to this whole thing. And, you know, the whole East Village, Lower East Side, downtown scene of music in the rock scene, whether it's going back to the Sonic Youth to the art scenes, Lounge Lizards and John Lurie and Cindy Sherman's photographs. And that was a really fun time where you could afford to live in New York City. And even if you had a roommate with a couple of, my friend Brooks moved to New York, Brooks from San, we were roommates, and he got an apartment on, he was up by the Natural History Museum. So he's on the Upper West Side, and he had his apartment is probably as big as my bedroom here that I have here. But I used to love going to New York and, going to all those venues, all those scenes, around this time. I didn't know Glenn Branca, but I knew a lot of these musicians and bands and art scenes. And that was the most thrilling thing,
Museum's across from the park, right?
Well, he was way
one?
up there by where they would stage. I remember being there Thanksgiving one weekend in the 80s, and we walked out of his apartment, and they were staging the Thanksgiving Day balloons. They'd stage them right by the Natural History Museum on Central Park West before they would, on Thanksgiving, go down there. And seeing these giant friggin' floats or balloons, whatever you call it, the night before, it's kind of cool. I don't care what you say about Manhattan. I fucking love that period of time. And I was in my early 30s, mid 30s, and it was friggin' a great time to go there. So,
yeah, I was too young, but my dad used to have to go, to make a long story short, he used to take me into the city all the time for his business, his job. He had a seamstress he was working with. It's a long story getting into my father's business, but he used to take me to the Lower East Side to where we would go to his place of business. And I just remember walking around there and feeling like it was such a, dangerous is the way I remember it, but unique is what I would say. And I just remember seeing a lot of people like I'd never seen before. And it was a vibe. It was very, it was something different, very different than
in the
what it is
midst
now.
of all the Jewish businesses down there below Houston on Ludlow Street and around there.
There's little pockets of different things, but
Totally.
but also Brooklyn and where Billy's salon has actually some significance to me on Greenpoint Avenue. When I was young in that area, I was living not too far from there I was living in Greenpoint where Billy lived, but on a different part of Manhattan Avenue. And I used to be right on that intersection where his store was because my wife taught at the school around the corner. So I remember when everyone was hanging out at the shop that night, I went outside and took a video and walked around and showed my wife, hey, look, do you recognize this corner? There's your old school on Montrose Street, PS 250. And she was like, holy shit, is there a record store around the corner from when I was there? There was nothing. There was literally nothing in that area. And so we were tripping out about how different Brooklyn had changed. And I'm like, yeah, now one of the greatest record shops is around the corner. If I was visiting you at the school back when, if that was now, I would be going to Billy's every day. And so I still have video of that walking around the city at night. And then I walk up to see back to the store where you guys are all sort of geeking out and I come back in. But Yeah, so that was that location I just remembered. I realized like had that significance.
You know, this type of tribute, this type of video, and talking to all the four of us, and then the other ones that came and went in the last hour or so. I really like the best thing that I like. Obviously, I like showing. I bought this record at Walmart, and it was a. Of course, I didn't buy the color.
Hang on a second. Mazzy's next record purchase at Walmart will be his first record purchase at Walmart.
If they ever carry the Ascension.
No, I'm just using an example, but the best thing about, for me at least, what I enjoy the most, and I try to do on my channel, and all the ones I like, are the stories behind the records. Obviously, the music, and the history of the person that has it. And I always use this, and I kind of use it as a self-deprecating thing on myself and my channel. Is Dom is one of my favorite channels because, you know, 2/3 of the stuff he talks about, I don't know what the fuck he's talking about, but I like it, and I like that his passion for that music. The other guy I like most, and no offense to you two guys below here, but is the Metal Theologian, because I'm not a metal fan. I'm not of any of that sort. But he'd sit there for 45 minutes vaping and have his video camera talking about these Bavarian, South American, Yugoslavian metal bands that I would never possibly listen to. But he's someone, no offense again to you two, but he was someone I would hang out with and have a flavored soda.
Coca-Cola, yeah. He has
exactly.
that Coca-Cola.
Flavored soda. Like, he has the weird, like, this is pomegranate from 1987.
Here's Billy's dad.
I hope you're watching, Aaron. But I like when someone has a point of view, even if it's not what I want. I'm not talking the political side, because that's a whole different world, and we know where we all stand on that. But that's the best thing about this. And yes, I like Concert Buddy and Dave with his stuff, and it's not like to play favorites, but the best thing is learning about stuff. And even if you don't like the music or can't, maybe you just haven't listened to it, that's for me has been the value here. Billy's one of those people, I wish he even had the time to do his channel on a regular basis and do like what Mike Ingrooves does, but what he has in his store. And he never really did that. He would guest on other people's channels and never obviously had the time or the will to host his own on a
lot of times he would be popping on while at work.
We have family in the chat.
Okay, Dr. Jim Holland, Billy Jones' brother-in-law, checking in. He would love this. You know, I don't know how much you watch, and hope you watch it. Again, if you want to come up, I mean, I don't mind, putting something in the chat here if you felt like coming up, because as we said before, if you haven't listened, we're the people that know him from the record store, from the vinyl community. We don't know his club scene, his music scene, but he touched us, and it's so fucking amazing, and it's so weird in a way. I'm sorry.
It's all right, man.
It's so weird that someone we hardly know. I met him twice in person, but yeah.
Oh yeah, I had the day I found out, it was definitely like a good punch to the stomach. Yeah, it was.
Yeah, it took the air out. It took literally.
God.
It was the worst.
My people call that getting verklempt. Okay,
that's verklempt.
Yeah,
yes.
I just remember finally meeting him, and he recognized me from my channel, and because he said something when I walked up to this booth, and I was like, man, I'm finally here, man. I finally made it. And then I got sick as hell the next morning, and Dom had to take me back to the apartment. I didn't even get to go the second day to the fair. But when I met him, and like I said, he was the genuine article. Exactly.
Real deal Holyfield. You're right. Yep.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
That's what I wanted to say too, is like I forget where I didn't, it was probably on one of the Jazz Bums. I don't remember what it was, but he called me out. Like, he's like, hey, I've seen your videos. Like, those are great. I'm like, oh God, he's actually watching my shit. That's sweet.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. Dr. Jim Holland is his, did I say brother-in-law? Is that what it was?
Yeah.
Do you know what his favorite band or music or artist was? Because I certainly don't. I'm just curious. Does anybody know? If you know what kind of, I mean, I know he liked jazz, rock, pop music or rock music, whatever. But
it's pretty heavy into jazz.
Yeah, but people have a favorite band. I don't care how friggin' into jazz you are.
Mazzy, remember in Austin? Remember he was only there for that one. Like he was in and out, and that stack of records he had. Remember how enormous? Like Billy was a very like slender fella, and he had this enormous, like gratuitously enormous stack of records. Like he was so happy because he had found such great jazz. Like all the little spots that we went to. Like Joint Custody from DC was there. He made a killing there. Like he hit all the big ones, and literally bigger than his whole body. Like a guy like me, even bigger than me, right?
Exactly.
And so happy. He was so happy, and he was showing. He was because he slept on that couch, I think, Mazzy, right, at the Airbnb.
Well, that's the thing. He got in like at 2 a.m, and I had the room right by the door, and of course he didn't have a key, so he's knocked on the door. I think it might have been raining or something at 2 a.m, and of course Kimbo and Rob were on the other side of the condo, or not condo, the part or the house. It was a house.
The house, yeah.
It was in the where
Congress, right?
South Congress area, which is great. We also have here Ned Jones. Ned Jones is Billy's father, who reached out to Dom and I.
I just remember y'all got to eat great barbecue.
Yeah, he said, "I'm Billy's dad. We're devastated, but comforted by the admiration and support on this live stream. Thank you." Yeah, I mean, look at this. Yeah, I'm sorry. Here we go. We love your son, and this is only one part of his life. Again, as I don't know how much you've been watching, we don't know the club side, the music side, the venue scene. We just know in the last 3 years plus 4 years, the records and things, and he actually. We can't believe how he it touched us, but thank you for reaching out. I hope we've respected his life, at least his musical life there. So anyway.
Yeah, he's so generous. I speaking of Baby's All Right, I realized last week, I'd forgotten this, but my band was doing a little tour, and he had told me, he's like, dude, whenever you want to come play Baby's All Right, just let me know, and you're in.
Oh, sweet. Yeah.
I never took him up on that, so that's a bit of a regret. But that's just another sort of example of how generous he was, and I think that he wasn't just telling me that; he probably would have put us in. So
I know.
Like, from what I've read, that venue, his goal was to have a lot of bands be able to cut their teeth there, and promote bands that needed being promoted. So he was. It sounds like to me he was very instrumental in.
Do you know what type of was it? All kinds of music?
I'm not sure, but it just
so.
Some of the articles I read is just like there's a lot of bands that got started there.
Yeah, talking with Jose on our stream last week about this. Jose was talking. Jose's got a lot of different kind of bands and foreign language bands on his label, and him and Billy were talking about ways to get them and even his band playing at Babies. So like to Dom's point, like Billy's is very welcoming. We're talking about John Bong. Some know him better as John Bong, but yes.
Oh, you
I know people have seen this picture so much, but I love this picture because I don't know what the fuck he was doing rolling his sleeve up, but this is my shirt that I gave him. It's the Music Stupid because of that. I love that he wore it. This is at Black's Barbecue across from the Austin Record Show venue. Eddie was there and Rob was there, and I don't know if you were there, Chance, that time. We went there a couple of times, but I just love this shot, and it makes me smile. Again, I don't know the roll-up thing. If that's what the kids
Texas
do,
is hotter than blazes there, ain't it?
Yeah, but I can see both sides. You roll up. Let me get rid of this.
He didn't want to make you feel uncomfortable. Exactly. He didn't. He was in Texas. Texas.
But don't you roll it up and stick a pack of Marlboros in there?
I don't think he was a greaser. I don't think he was one of the outsiders. Like Pony Boy wasn't going to roll up to Terry Black's
Dr. Robert was there too. I remember. We went there a couple of times because that was big shit ass meat.
Well, you get those Brontosaurus beef ribs. I mean, that's probably what Billy was doing.
Go to the Austin show?
He did.
Rob and Billy and Kimbo and I shared an Airbnb there, and Kimbo's girlfriend at the time.
And Chris was there from the Jazz Bombs, for sure.
Yes. Chris was there. Louis was there. Golden, but not with Art. But you were there. I mean, it was
Rojas. Yeah.
I met Dylan, Noble Records there.
Too many records. Kessler was there. Yeah, there was a lot of people there.
I met David from
Oh yeah, Bianco was there. Yeah.
David Tex. You know, I met a lot of people.
Dylan bought the most expensive record at the fair, I think, that day.
Oh,
Did he really?
didn't know
Yeah,
that.
one of them, the Blue Note. What was it?
It's like Thad Jones or one of those.
Yeah, the Thad Jones.
Magnificent
I think the
Thad
guy
Jones.
Yeah, the guy had like
Safari
3 grand.
record Safari guy. I forgot his name.
Oh, Alex Rodriguez. Yeah,
Alex,
Alex was there.
He was there. It was the people that do that silly
Oh,
slapping thing.
our buddy Mazzy at NASA. Our NASA buddy. Are we allowed to say his name?
Oh yeah, Paul.
Paul.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Brock
Okay.
P-Dub.
Yeah.
Brock,
Okay. Yeah,
Paul
he was there. Yeah.
I met Paul. He came here. Concert Buddy was in my house with his family. He came here, and I don't think I was too much of an asshole.
Defiled his bathroom in the worst ways. It was unbelievable.
Well done.
Thank you.
I don't know what else we can wind it down in the next few minutes. There's no one else coming up. I don't know what else to say. We could go on for hours talking about Billy, but we know one segment of his life, and even though it was his last 3 years or so, we
It went out on his terms, right? Like
Roberto, we did acknowledge Billy's father.
Hey,
we
that's
did acknowledge Billy's father, Ned Jones. He reached out to us. Exactly. Thanks for doing this stream. Yeah, exactly. I mean,
yeah. See right there, Jose. Jose is exactly what I was saying.
I think his influence is going to ripple. I mean, he really influenced me in a big way. I mean, that's how I would run a store if I was running one, the exact same way. And I hope other people take that cue and sort of focus on it being. A lot of stores do this, making it a community space, but Billy's space was felt like a real community space to me, like totally welcoming to everybody, and just very welcoming in general place to be in. So I hope that sort of picks up, and I hope his influence sort of lives on or whatever.
Yeah,
and I hope that rocking chair turns up somewhere. I don't know, I don't want to like sort of forget about Billy. I don't think I will. So
What about the club? Do you think Baby's All Right will continue on? I hope so.
I'm sure they have a partner. We don't know, but my
Yeah.
guess, I don't know anybody can open a club alone in New York.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess it's possible unless you're like filthy rich, but even if you're that, you have someone to run it. There's always partnerships, whether it's from the liquor side to the permitting side. Any major city, New York obviously is the major city, whether it's San Francisco or Los Angeles or Charlotte, or open a club in an urban area, Seattle, it's a shit show. It's like, you have to have the backing, you have to have the investors, you have to deal with the friggin' liquor people, all the stuff. And now with ICE coming in and taking people away, I hate to say it, but fuck it, I'm talking about that shit too, where we stand right now. All this stuff, it's like the odds are always against you in restaurants, music venues, that kind of stuff. So I admire anyone who makes this through successfully.
I like what JK is saying here. This really sounds like Billy to me about geeking out on Asia pressings. Like that totally sounds like Billy. Just like you asking him about something and like you're getting more than you bargained for. Like,
yes.
Oh shit, Billy's like overwhelming me with information. Like, I kind of want to go finish looking at records, but he's talking to me about all these different, Asia pressing stuff.
You wanted like a notepad, right?
Stuff.
Like once he got rolling, you wanted a notepad to write some of this down because he was just rapid fire, like machine gun information.
Carried away, in a great way.
Yeah. Mazzy should buy part of the club.
Are you going to make that announcement? Mazzy, you're making that announcement right now.
Despite what everyone thinks, I don't have a lot of money. I have a house that's paid for because I'm an old person, and I had a house in San Francisco that I sold to buy a house here. But I'm not cash rich, so I just have a good style.
Tune in tomorrow on Whatnot, 2:00 Pacific Standard Time, and help make this happen. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I guess any last words before I'm only winding it down. We could hang out here all night, but an hour and a half.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of input we could use from people who know him in other ways that would be great to sort of complement this. But understandably, we've shared what we can share about him, and there's probably more stories to be told from people in the chat too. But yeah, I mean, I feel like it's a good place to be.
No, and I think you guys did a nice job of giving it a couple weeks to breathe, because I know that right after, like Dom said, like I was just floored, and so to learn more about him post his passing, like those articles and this whole other side of him that I wasn't aware of, and sounds like a lot of you guys weren't either. To do this way, I think was well done, boys.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh,
Agreed.
God, it's amazing how things affect you. But these are the kind of things. I mean, I'm not a religious person, but I know people. I've gone to Irish wakes. I've gone to Catholic. I don't even know what you call them after a thing. I've gone to Jewish things after someone dies, and the best thing is you feel that loss. But obviously, we're not family, so it's a little different. But there's something you feel good about inside about the person, and you like feeling
good, the
emotion, right? I mean, losing it is not something you want to do, but it's okay to do it. And if you don't feel it, when my father died, I wasn't emotional until I had a talk about him at his funeral, and I couldn't cry for like that, how long it was after that. And it is a kind of a feeling that I just use the word good when someone passes, but it is a good thing. It's kind of like, I'm a big fan. I've done these videos on music that is dark and brooding, and to me, that kind of music, like I'm a big Nick Cave fan, and the darker he gets, the more I love and feel that music. And there's a lot of that darkness in music that is some of my favorite music, and it makes me actually feel good. And doing something like this, I think, is it makes me feel good, at least. So,
well, for me, Mazzy, I think more people need to be like Billy while they're living.
Be like Billy. That's right.
Be like Billy.
Mazzy, put that in a T-shirt. Let's get that going. Be like Billy.
And also, let's not forget November 2025. Just saying, WFMU will come once again. So,
is it in Manhattan again, same venue?
Yep.
If someone has a great apartment room in New York, you know what it is? I used to go to New York twice a year.
It's hard, yeah.
I went to Manhattan twice a year for work for something like 20 plus years. And you could get hotels, not cheap, but reasonable. When I was working, it was a reasonable thing. And then after that, the Airbnb thing made them a little cheaper. You could get things. And now since Airbnb is limited, the hotels jack their prices. And
I just got my flight for $107.
The flight's not the problem. It's the fucking. And the thing is, if I'm going to New York from the West Coast, I want to stay 4 nights because I want to enjoy New York. Like, why stay 2 nights?
I'm there 3 nights. Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Yep. Yeah, I actually I tried to get the apartment that we got 2 years ago. Mazzy, you saw it, and that guy they had to sell that place, so I got to find a new place. Unfortunately.
Yeah. Well,
Dom, get your other half involved. She's good.
She is good.
I'll give you. I got a successful YouTube channel. If you got a nice room in Manhattan, with my own ensuite, I want my own bathroom. No, I'm just.
Dom, we could just like go gangbusters up into Mike Notes and Tones' place and just show up unannounced.
No, sure he'll love that. Yeah,
come on, like some of these hotel chains. Give us a block of rooms free in promotion. We'll shoot it. I need to reach out to the other people there.
Hampton Inn. Hello, is there a Hampton Inn?
No, fuck Hampton Inn.
That's 2-star.
We're definitely not staying in Jersey again.
No.
In 2016, 17,
3 miles from the place.
In 2016, 17, 18, I rented an apartment, 3rd store brownstone walk up, right on Union Square, across from the W Hotel. Great thing. And I got it for actually a good price, but I used to go for like 4 nights a week for work, and I lived there 2 months, in those January, February of those years, and it was the greatest time living in Manhattan for 2 months, dead of winter, but working out in New York. And if anyone has a place for us to hang out, like a house, just give it to us. We'll promote the hell out of you. I'll include it in a video.
True mensch right here. A true mensch. Just say,
hey,
you're not staying with Armando?
As a photo, well, I love Armando and Arnaldo and Walter, and they're great, but they're out in Queens. No offense to Queens. I want to stay in fucking New York City.
Wow.
The
Ouch.
problem is not finding. You can find a small place like there's these pods there now. You can stay with like a little bathroom and or like a toilet, and not even a toilet, a sink and a bed. But like there's
Like
not really
a prison. It's Attica. Is Attica still around?
Atticus is like much nicer, I would think. But yeah, so I had such a hard time finding something last year. We ended up in Hoboken, and it sucked. So
Yeah, you know,
The
not,
place
nothing
itself was
against
fine.
Queens,
It's
nothing
just-
against
there's no
Hoboken,
parking.
nothing against Jersey. When you're hanging out in New York City and that's where the venue, you want to walk around, you want to go to a bar, a restaurant, a cafe, you want to go to the record show, go to record stores. I mean, we went into at WFM, we went to stores in Manhattan. Remember we went in? I don't think I was with you, Dom.
No.
But I was with the other group, and we had with Arnaldo and Jason. Jason and I were like best buddies that couple nights. We had a great time. It was fun.
100%. I agree with you. You want to be in the borough where the activity is. It's hard to. It's not. Depending on what's going on in New York City on a weekend, the trains change. There's all kinds of nightmares with different transfers you have to do, or like maintenance that messes up the subway lines on the weekends. And so, yeah, you want to be in the borough that you're doing most of your activity.
You come to Seattle, you don't want to stay in Tacoma. You come to San Francisco, you don't want to stay. You come to San Francisco, you don't want to stay in Daly City. Okay, this is like, I don't care how fucking snooty that sounds.
Well, and Dave mentioned the problem with Hoboken, like Roberto was saying, is like it was the parking. Like you literally could not park there.
Well, because no one drives cars there. They take public transit and they have a car for backup purposes, and it sits out in front of these places and it never moves.
Well, you needed a permit just to park on the street, which I didn't know.
No.
And so we ended up Brandon put his car in a garage. We paid, it cost us like $80, but
$80 a night probably.
I forget. It wasn't actually terrible what it ended up being, but it was still not what we were expecting. So anyway,
you get a hotel in Manhattan now. A decent hotel, it's going to cost you $300 up, and that $300 is going to add another $50 for taxes and all that shit. And if you share it, well, we don't have to get into that. I'm getting off topic. I apologize. But Billy, can we sleep in your record store? That's Brooklyn, though. But,
Interesting idea.
Yeah. All right.
All right, guys. Thanks for putting this together. Thanks for the invite. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Yeah. Thanks, Mazzy.
Seeing y'all.
Dom, thank you. Thank you, Dave. Thank you, Chance. Thank you, everyone who's watching. We love Billy. We miss Billy. Thanks to Billy's family. And
sorry for your loss.
Heart goes out to you for forever. And thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Take care.
Take care. Be good.